to Fantasy Football Fam. I'm joined once again by Mason and Tedder.
Hello.
Of course, my name's Garrison. How you guys doing today?
I'm good.
Yeah?
We're getting there.
Yeah.
It's starting to get a little rough for me in fantasy and the football scene, for the football team too, but we're working towards it. Never give up, so.
Yeah, man. I mean, just like NFL teams, you're going to have some rough fantasy years, you know? Just keep going.
Portions of years, not this whole year. I'm not giving up.
Well, the thing is I've seen a lot of people like sneak into the playoffs with like a late seed, like an 8th seed or a 6th seed, whatever, and win. So,
Yeah.
you know, if you can just keep going and barely make the playoffs, then it's all up for grabs at that point.
That's why you're in multiple leagues too, so you can be doing better in some than others. So.
Yeah, definitely.
Some.
For sure.
Cool.
And it was a crazy week, wasn't it?
Yes.
It's a great. It goes to show like how these are all professional football players, right? Like, you know, the Bills. Everybody think they're like the favorite in the AFC, and you know, I think Jags might have made it to the bottom of that list, and then they win. You know, the defense shows up, holding
Week
to
of the
6
underdog.
points.
Yeah.
You know, so these guys, you know, any given Sunday is what they say. You know?
Wildness.
For sure.
So, you know, don't think too much about, you know, like you're for sure like you're running back. You got an RB1. You got, you know, Jonathan Taylor. You know, you can't just be like, oh, he's gonna do for sure good. You know, and it's like you can't be like super disappointed when he doesn't, because he's playing a professional defense. So
Yes.
who knows what's gonna happen?
And cut him some slack. He's probably done you pretty well thus far.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Can't expect too much from
Taylor
these
owner's
guys.
feeling good.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so we're going to start off with some pickups that you can maybe look to see if they're out there. Tedder, you want to go ahead and start with a guy we've talked about before, but for some reason people just aren't picking him up?
Tim Patrick out of the old Denver Broncos. Still solid every single week. Teddy Bridgewater loves throwing to him. So if he's available, go get him. Another one. Quarterback, who I'm going to talk about a little bit later, but Carson Wentz, been balling. The Colts been balling, so if you have a chance to grab Carson Wentz down the stretch, especially with a lot of bye weeks coming up, go grab him.
He's looking good.
Yeah, he has been.
Sure.
The team's just looking good, so
Yeah.
good offense always
What
great.
do you know?
Yeah, the whole team looks like a well-oiled machine. I think they're coming into what everybody thought they were going to be, which is awesome. And then my final guy, Logan Thomas. I'm an owner of him in fantasy. He's coming back from injury, but I think they're going to temper him a little bit this week. I got a report saying he was pretty sore on Monday
Yeah, he
during
might not
his
even
workout.
play, but
So he may not come off the IR this week. Hopefully he does, but we shall see. But if you can grab him, if he's there, he'll be back eventually. And if you need a tight end, he's damn good. So go grab him if you can.
looking forward, you know, to future weeks, not just this week.
Especially for like a playoff run or something
Yeah.
like that. So
Definitely. The
Mason-
foosball scheme could really use Logan Thomas back.
Yeah, they could.
And then I'm looking at a pickup of Brandon Ayuk as a receiver. We've been waiting around for him because he was doing well last year as a rookie, and then a lot of people are dropping him because they're just not getting a lot of production. So we're seeing some old Ayuk, a lot of targets, a lot of involvement in their offense now, and maybe him and Debo can kind of be a kind of two guys that will really turn it on for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
So. And then, not to be confused with Duke Johnson Jr., who I thought the Browns had as a backup still at some point on our show. Dearness Johnson. Nick Chubb is out this week with COVID, so he's going to be the lead back there again.
Yeah.
Hunt is also still out as well.
And, Hunt's out with that.
Reports are he's not coming back anytime soon.
I almost thought he was going to miss like 80% of the year or more. So
Might come back for your playoff run, but in the meantime, you know, Dearness is kind of fill that.
And he's been
That
solid
Chubb-
when he
the
goes
Hunt
in.
role. Yeah.
He does well. So
He looks. If you watch him run, he's like
he's a
shifty
stud.
and he gets up the field. I like.
yeah,
it.
there's a lot of young backs that kind of emerged this year, like we were looking to see. So
Yeah.
and then my last guy, Rashad, the bait man, is coming along too, getting more yards, a few more targets. Who knew Lamar Jackson's just going to have multiple receivers that are fantasy relevant, not just their tight end, and him being a runner. So
We're going to talk about it later. Hollywood Brown has had quite a
year
so far, and you know, I mean, I'm assuming at some point defenses are going to have to key in on him a little bit more. Might open it up for Bateman. Gosh, that's so ridiculous. I got a few more
Hollywood.
guys here. I got T.Y. Hilton. It looks like he's coming back from injury. Obviously, always a risk to re-injure himself. He's not on the field a ton, but I don't think he's got competition for that number 2 spot in a solid offense. So I think he's going to getting way more targets than Zach Pascal. But Michael Pittman does look like the number one guy, really solid there.
Very much so.
And then I also got Elijah Moore. I talked about him in the preseason. I think we might have mentioned him another time on the show. But he finally had like a breakout game. Looked good. He looked really good. And so he's had a lot of targets these past few weeks. He's getting involved in that offense. And then the last guy is Jordan Howard. We kind of talked about who we didn't really know how Philadelphia was going to do their backfield going into last week, but I think one of them looked a lot better than the other two, and that's Jordan Howard. Definitely, if you're running back needy and he's out there, go ahead and grab him, and maybe just see if he continues this. He might end up getting more touches if he keeps running like that. So, one thing we're going to be doing this week is kind of what we're calling like our positional favorites for the rest of the year. We're each going to pick a player that is less than 75% owned in ESPN leagues for each position and kind of talk about what we expect from them going forward. That they're like, of the people that are 75% owned or less, that those are the guys that we see doing the best. So we're going to start. Do you want to go ahead and start with yours, Tedder?
Yeah.
Tedder.
Want to get right into it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Cool. Well, at the quarterback position, I mentioned them earlier. I have two quarterbacks. One is a home favorite, as y'all can probably guess, and the other one is Carson Wentz. Colts look good. They look really good, y'all, and I think Carson Wentz has scored really well the last couple of weeks, and they don't have a bye week till week 14. So if you're looking for a guy to continue to help bolster your fantasy team, and you've been struggling at the quarterback position, go Carson Wentz. Go grab him. I like what the Colts are doing. And he looks pretty dang good. It looks like he's over that injury, so knock on wood for him. The other quarterback I got is my own Teddy Bridgewater. The Broncos' schedule the rest of the year looks pretty stinking easy. Teddy Bridgewater's not a guy that if you have a quarterback, you're going to start him over. But streaming option, I like him as a favorite for the rest of the year. I like what Denver looked like on Sunday, and I think they're going to continue that pace going forward. And he's got Cortland, he's got Jerry Jeudy back now, and Tim Patrick. Not to mention Fant coming back from the COVID list. And then the running backs that open up the pass anyways. And then, let me go to my other small piece of paper. A wide receiver who's been making a lot of noise in the last week, Odell Beckham. He's at 75% owned, so I was able to squeeze him in here. I love Odell.
Down.
If he was a free agent and he hasn't been doing well until he got dropped, so if he's available in your league, go grab him. If you're, an idiot, kind of like me, and you've just stashed him the whole year, you might get lucky because he's cornered it down to the Chiefs, the Packers, and possibly the Saints. I'm hoping he lands in Green Bay.
I heard he might go to the Patriots too,
and possibly the Patriots. But Adam Schefter came out today and said he's lowered it to those three.
I think the Patriots
So-
are really trying to get
Yes.
him. I guess,
Okay.
is what-
Yes.
The most
Hopefully he goes to the Packers.
Yeah.
That's where I want him to go.
I think that's where I want him to go
So
too.
him and Adams can
Not
be a
me.
nasty one too. And then finally, Mark Ingram, running back for the Saints. Adam Schefter came out earlier today, said that Kamara's been nursing a knee injury and he didn't even practice today. Today's Wednesday, so if you see this weekend, that's why. But Melvin Ingram's looking like he might be that dude for a little bit if that knee doesn't, heal up for old Alvin. So those are my favorites of the year.
Awesome, Tedder. Mason, who do you have for the rest of the year for each position?
For my 70% or 75% available players quarterback position, I have Matty Ice, Matt Ryan on the Falcons. He's available. He might be more matchup based, but if you have him on your bench and can get him 2 out of 3 of his games, I think he's going to put up 20 or more points.
He's been looking good recently.
Yeah, I mean, it'd help if Ridley was there, but we're glad Ridley's taking care of his business. And then Kyle Pitts, I really think, is just going to keep turning it on for the rest of the year. So Matt Ryan and him go hand in hand. And then for receiver, I have Peoples-Jones. Now that Beckham is gone for the Browns receiver, he gets a lot of those deep end zone looks. Not so many targets, but he's working with what he's got really well so far. So the points are there. And then I'm taking kind of a stab in the dark here for just an injury replacement since I'm using this guy. Eno Benjamin, the pass-catching running back on the Cardinals, is very available in a lot of leagues. And I think he might work as a fill-in for like 5 weeks. Chase Edmonds has a high ankle sprain.
Right.
And those aren't great for players. Recovery time can be a while with those. So.
James Conner has had some injury concerns in the past, so he might get injured again.
Yeah,
and
that one's a bit of a reach, but I really do think he's going to be relevant these next few weeks. And
definitely somebody to consider.
Yes, definitely. And then, although I was considering Kirk Cousins up there with Matt Ryan, but I thought he might almost be 75% owned. But I have his tight end Conklin as a tight end streaming option for one to use. I played him in the lineup last week. He did okay. For a tight end, okay is pretty good sometimes. Like, and he could get those touchdown targets and really be relevant. So he's the only tight end there I think really worth looking at.
I agree. I agree for sure.
What about you?
So, as far as my QB goes, I wanted to go with Carson Wentz, but I knew that Tedder wanted to do him instead. So I went ahead and grabbed a backup. I'm going to talk about Derek Carr. I do think he is a solid option going forward. He's got a pretty easy schedule. You know, if you take a look at who he's going to be playing, like not perfect, you know, obviously, but he's playing some pretty soft defenses, and he racks up the passing yards.
He does.
So, you know, in our deep league, passing yards are worth a little bit more. So
I'm working Carr in that league.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
You know, if you get like those bonuses for high yardage, you know, he's going to be better in those. And then he's got quite a few weapons. You know, I know he just lost one in Henry Ruggs, but it still seems like he's got a lot of people there. You know, he's got Renfro, Bryan Edwards is coming around, and obviously Darren Waller. Kenyon Drake's coming out of the backfield too, so I like that. But the one downside is there is no rushing upside for him.
No.
So, and as far as my running back goes, me and Tedder talked about this guy last week, but A.J. Dillon looked really good. And have you seen his thighs? You guys seen his thighs?
Can you miss him?
You could probably choke out a gorilla with those thighs, okay? He might be just as good as Aaron Jones, you know? I mean, I think a lot of people don't think that he could surpass Aaron Jones. I don't think he could surpass him, but especially the way they've been using him more and more, they might end up splitting those carries eventually.
Not bad.
And he's a great receiver. He's catching a lot of balls out of the back of the end zone, or out of the backfield. And then did I mention his thighs? Okay? That dude could pop a basketball with those thighs.
That's why they call him Quadzilla.
Quadzilla. His Twitter says he's the sauce.
Oh.
AJ the Sauce Dillon.
Put him to use.
But yeah, so I like AJ Dillon going forward if you can grab him. And then as far as wide receivers go, I've got Elijah Moore. I chose Moore because, you know, I just love seeing those small guys out there just like killing it, dude. Like, dude's 5'10", like less than 180 pounds. But he's killing it, dude.
Getting mad separation.
He's getting mad separation this last week. You know, he looked extremely effective. And I think he's just got the most upside out of those lower roster guys, really. Especially people that might be available in your free agency. He looks like the best. And I don't think Zach Wilson's going to start another game. Like, Mike White looks better than Zach Wilson. I think maybe they see how he does next year. And I think that's good for Elijah Moore. And he's averaging 11.7 yards per catch over these last 3 weeks. He wasn't doing that at the beginning, but he's coming around, you know. And then this last guy I want to talk about is super good. He scored 2 touchdowns on Monday night. Pat Freiermuth. If he's out there, I think you got to go grab him. 20 targets in his last 3 games. And for a tight end, that's awesome. And he had 3 tutters over the past 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I like it, you know. And they seem to love him in Pittsburgh, too. Every time he catches the ball, they're like, move. So,
And he's a fryer.
yeah, I mean, we all love fries, right? And Juju isn't coming back, so I see him just continuing to have this solid production. All right, so next up, we are going to react to the top 10 for each position this year. We're going to start off with quarterbacks, go through running backs and wide receivers and tight ends. Just kind of tell you what we think, you know, and just kind of based on what happened last year. Like, I'm sure everything's a little bit different. I'm sure you guys didn't expect everything here. So yeah, we've got our QBs up here for this year and last year. Take a look at them. Who wants to start off with their first reaction for QBs?
I'm just excited to see Lamar Jackson up at number 4 this year. So far, obviously, I'm sure we'll revisit the rankings at the end of the year, but it's really cool to see Lamar jump 6 spots already.
Yeah.
I'm a big LJ fan, and
he had a rough year last year.
Yeah, he did. And
I get sick of what people say about him too. Like, he's super talented. Like, admit it, guys.
It is great.
Just
you guys were big on Lamar, and he's doing so well.
Yeah.
And I know you're gonna hit on him a little bit, but it's always fun for me to see Patrick Mahomes be way lower than where people expect him to be. So anytime I can rag on a Chief, it makes me happy. So yeah, you know, for me, it's mainly the holy goodness gracious Lamar Jackson sighting. You know, getting the respect he deserves. Love seeing him ball out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's all I really got.
Cool.
I'm looking at Hurts. You see how high he is on the list?
Yeah, he's number 2, right?
Who first saw that besides Mike Hudson, who drafted him in every league?
He got him in every league.
Well, he was. Yeah, I think so.
Wow, good
They
for
got
you,
him. Yeah,
bud.
got him in good spot, and
He's been balling.
they're doing better than Kyler, who was my guy, and I was probably picking much higher than Hurts. So I gotta show some love for him and the Eagles.
We talked about him as like a later round guy that we
Yeah.
like going forward.
Oh yeah, we liked him for coming forward this year, but being this high on the fantasy list already.
One of my favorite things about him was that he was going so low.
Yeah.
You know, he's going after so many guys that, you know, don't have that rushing upside. You know, and the only one that's scored more than him is Tom Brady.
Yeah, proves to be extreme value.
Yeah, seriously.
What about you, Gary? Who's
You
popping
know,
out?
I think one of the most interesting aspects of these rankings, like Tedder said, is Patrick Mahomes. You know, like last year he was 4th, and this year he's
That's
6th.
Yep.
So, you know, I drafted him first overall QB in one league. You know, I think we all kind of just see Patrick Mahomes as like this awesome fantasy QB when really he's not that much. You know, and you know, I think you talk about rushing upside. He doesn't have that much. He's not very fast with his feet. So
No.
some of those other guys are way better. And if he continues this kind of production, you know, he's definitely going to be outside the top 5. If I told you that Wentz was going to be a top 10 QB this year, like,
Carsey.
would you believe me? I think that's one where it's like a bye week. You know, he hasn't had his bye week, so I feel like there's some other quarterbacks that would definitely be better than him if they didn't have their bye week. Like, I can't really think of anybody right now, but there's definitely somebody out there, I'm sure. And then I think we should just make Tom Brady retire. What do you guys think?
Not if he's at the top of everything.
No, I'm sick of it. Okay,
All right,
I'm sick of it.
Winning the league, winning the fantasy most points.
He's a robot.
Quarterbacks.
He's a robot.
Yeah, I think he might be a cyborg. So,
Sent back in time to ruin all of our years.
which I'm pretty sure is against the rules. I don't think they allow cyborgs to play in the NFL. So,
Well, it was an added rule this year that Brady got put in there.
like he got exempt from it.
Yes, that he got exempt from.
Man.
Well, any cyborgs younger than 45.
Okay, so
Yes.
no new cyborgs can be included in this because, you know, technology is advancing so quickly. So yeah, I think, you know, it's obviously it's super impressive what he's been able to do.
Yeah.
Such an age, you know. I mean, he's got awesome weapons there, but got to give credit where credit is due. I've always been a hater of Tom Brady. It's hard to hate him now. It's really hard to hate on Tom Brady nowadays.
You're right there.
All right, so we're going to have our running backs, top 10 running backs this year and last year up here. Go ahead and take a look at them. You will be tested on this later. You want to go ahead and start again with your reactions, Tedder?
Yeah, the first reaction is that the top 2 running backs, obviously I think number 1 will be supplanted because Derrick Henry's hurt. But it's cool that in our deep league I own both of them, so I just want to go ahead and throw that out there. But no, I think for me, it's just kind of cool to see some different names. It's cool to see a rookie on this list, Najee Harris. That's dope. I know you're going to talk about him a little bit more, but Mr. Patterson, Cordell Patterson, out of left field, right?
seriously.
And then, you know, other than that, it's cool to see some of the similar names, so like Jonathan Taylor, Aaron Jones. So it just goes to show that, you know, running backs can be a name in this league if you make it. And it's surprising to see old Zeke Elliott down at the bottom at number 10. Coming into this year, you thought he was in good shape. But that's a spot less than last year. He finished at 9 last year. So
Right. Yeah,
Maybe
so
Zeke's finally fallen off. after
similar
all
to the
this
Patrick
solid
Mahomes
time.
thing, I think going into fantasy, we get drawn to these names, and then they kind of fall off. So we got to remember, hey, there's guys on the other side of the ball that get down and dirty on defense.
and I think the other thing, you know, you watch Patrick Mahomes and he's awe-inspiring, right? Like watching him, you're like, did he really just make that throw?
Yeah.
And so I think that might have a little bit to do with it, right? Like we're just like, you know, you watch Zeke run and you're like, that dude runs like a monster.
Yeah.
You know what
He
I
still
mean? Like,
puts it in there, yeah.
yeah, I mean, he's still really good, but, you know, we're talking about fantasy
Oh, yeah.
production
Yes.
here, right? Like, you know, and it seems like over the past 2 years, you can't really trust his fantasy production.
No,
right?
which is why fantasy is so cool, right? Because a lot of these guys are damn good, but every given Sunday, right? And some guys are going to make a name every other week, and some guys aren't. And that's the cool thing about fantasy sports. It's a guess.
Who knows? Like Tony Pollard.
Yeah.
Like we didn't really expect him to be as good as he's been. You know, like
Stealing work.
which is awesome for the Cowboys.
Yep.
You know, and I'm sure Zeke's happy for him. I'm sure Zeke doesn't really care how good he is in fantasy.
Exactly.
Their team's good.
Yeah, their
so.
teams win. Should hold on to the division.
So, yeah.
I was looking at DeAndre Swift,
Okay.
and then I know Austin Eckler's been great, but man, he's really high on the list this year. It was so awesome when Melvin Gordon went down and Eckler did come and be that guy, because he kind of started as like a third down back, didn't he, back in the day? So like, and then seeing Swift run so well with a name like that, you got to be a good running back. I know he's lower nearby Zeke, but he hasn't been at the top of the list. I think he's only going to rise, where maybe Zeke's going to be on that other end of that spectrum, kind of falling a little bit. So
I mean, let's be honest. If the Lions were better, like Swift probably gets more touchdowns. He probably is higher on that list.
he's looked great.
But they play from behind a lot, so.
They are, and he is a pass catcher. So
Yes, he is.
might have
Young
something to
man.
do with his success. It still kind of hurts to see Derrick Henry's name. I mean, like
Yeah, it
you
does.
wanted to give him his props, but like, oh man, what a great running back that season was cut short far too early. I mean, sad thing about football, you know, these guys put so much into this, and then they get.
He'll still finish top 15 even with his numbers so far.
Oh, he will. No, I
kind
mean,
of
he'll probably
insane.
finish top 10.
Yeah.
But yeah, hopefully he comes back for the playoffs so we can at least watch him again this year. It's awesome. I'm sure some of you thought I was a little crazy. Maybe some of you thought I was dumb. But I was very high on Jonathan Taylor. I'm just going to go ahead and just take a little bow here. I had him ranked up at 6th overall. Number 2 running back. Probably might finish as the number 1 running back,
Definitely.
you know?
Definitely.
What a fantastic team he's on. Like, really, I think the Colts are probably one of the most underrated teams this year.
Coming together.
And then did you see his blocking last week? And that's kind of where I started. Like, if he's going to have great blocking and he's got that great field vision, like, I love him.
Yeah, I mean, he's so dang good. They're to the point now where they have him and Hines on the field at the same time because they can't take Jonathan Taylor off of it.
No.
And, like, together they scored, like, 50 or 60 fantasy points. Like,
Yeah, they're filthy.
seriously. So,
Filthy.
if you didn't get Jonathan Taylor, you missed out.
Because you were in these guys' league and they wouldn't give you a chance.
Yeah, I picked him 6th and 8th in my 2 leagues that I have him. So, I mean, he
I
was
had
the
my
best.
own guys that didn't do well that I was going after. So.
Yeah.
Injuries, we'll blame everything on injuries this
He
year.
was my first round pick in our league, so
Yeah.
had to grab him.
I'm glad you paid attention. You know,
Definitely.
I got my dad was like, who would you pick in this spot? I think he was like 6th or 7th, and I picked Jonathan Taylor. You know, and it turns out good for him. I'm
I
glad.
won't be getting him in that spot next year.
I think maybe it makes up for all the bad calls this year.
That's fair.
None.
Yeah,
All right.
I mean I've had some. So, and then like you said, Patterson up at 7. Like, who would have guessed that? I don't even really want to talk about it. Good for him.
Not a
but
rookie.
Preposterous
Been
scenario.
in the league
Let's be
for
honest.
10 years, maybe.
Let's be honest. That's not going to happen very much.
No.
And I've always loved Eckler too. I'm glad he's getting his, and you know I've thought he was awesome for years now, and hopefully everybody realizes how awesome he is. And then one last reaction. I think it's crazy that Hunt beat Chubb last year, and he was starting off the year better than Chubb, but he gets drafted so much later, you know. And you know, I think Hunt's awesome. I'm sure you guys kind of do too.
100%.
Just because Chubb is such a spectacle, too.
Seriously,
And he's
I
maybe
mean,
like 1 year younger. I admit that's the thing with him. I don't know.
I think it's people.
One
people
less
forget
assault
about
charge.
that. That's true. People forget about the value of pass catching sometimes. I feel like because Nick Chubb just really has very limited pass catching upside. So, you guys have anything else to say about a running backs?
No, it's odd. Dalvin Cook. I mean, he's been hurt a little bit this year, but I think he'll squeak his way possibly into the top 10,
Back in the top
depending on how that case he's dealing with
Yeah.
settles out. Dealing with some off the field stuff.
Says-
Hopefully, it works out for him. So
Yeah,
we'll
it
see.
seems
but-
like he's playing this week at the very least.
Yep. So
But
other than that, no, it's cool to see. Cool to see different names.
yeah, definitely some new people coming up. Next up, we are doing our wide receivers. We got a very interesting name. Not surprising though so far. Well, he was our our surprise boss. He
Yeah.
did get our surprise boss award.
He's been bossing ever since.
The boss, Mr. Cooper Kupp's at the top.
I
Which,
think we said yesterday at a production meeting, he's up 40 points
Ooh.
yeah,
above Hill. So,
yeah.
Being mentioned on the show didn't get to his head.
yeah.
Turns out, he's an avid listener.
Yeah, Derrick Henry breaks his foot and Cooper Kupp takes off, so that's awesome.
We're
Anyways.
throwing it to Tedder's reaction for these receivers.
Yeah, okay, well, I'm already on fire, so let's keep
Yeah,
it
go
rolling.
ahead, get it going. Get it going.
Okay, so the really cool thing I like about these lists is that you get to see the quarterback wide receiver connection, and you get to see how some of these receivers, the quarterbacks, are also in the top 10 this year. So obviously, you got Kupp and Stafford, you have Hill and Mahomes, you have Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow, and then you got obviously Tommy B with Goodwin and Evans. But it's also cool to see some new names. I really like how Michael Pittman's on here, right? A guy that until later in the season wasn't really rostered much. And now here he is at number 7. And then the other guy, Jamar Chase, who I just mentioned, it's cool to see him because at the beginning of the year, he was saying he couldn't see the football, he couldn't catch, and I think he hustled all of us. So it's really cool to see him there.
I don't know what that was, but that had to have been a joke.
He wanted to draft himself low in fantasy.
Yeah, I don't
He
know.
was
Or
taking his value.
maybe he wanted to, because he knew people really believed in him. He's like, my true fans will still draft me. So
Even though I
I
didn't play
will
in college
say the
last
NFL
year.
ball and the college ball, they are different in size. And it's nice that the college ball has the white stripes on either end of the
That's
laces.
right, yeah.
So, however, the NFL ball, from what I've experienced, is a lot easier to catch. So I don't know why Jamar was playing us all like that.
maybe he was just looking for excuses. He's like,
That was
I'm
balling.
dropping it because of this instead of like I just had a ton of bad drops in the preseason.
So I mean, other than that, it's Diggs isn't on the list. I think that's wild. Stephon Diggs. Thielen's nowhere to be found. Justin Jefferson's nowhere to be found. So DeAndre Hopkins is nowhere to be found. So that just goes to show how every other year different guys will make a name for themselves. And I think that's
Yeah.
awesome. So yeah, that's all I got.
Some surprises we're seeing. And we mentioned Hollywood Brown earlier. Man, 6th. I wasn't even touching him in drafts this
Me
year.
neither. I don't think a lot of people did.
He was in the free agency, wasn't he? Last?
I didn't. I was like, it was like my last pick in one of my leagues, and I was like, I saw Hollywood Brown there. I was like, I just don't want him. I just don't want him.
I was really high on Mark Andrews last year, but I was like, I wasn't believing it for the receivers, and then they didn't do great. Mark kind of fell off. It's like, I don't know about these pass catchers, and now there's 3 great ones on the Ravens, and
Yeah,
Lamar's looking like he just knows how to put it through the air to the right
He
guys.
threw for 400 yards, more than 400 yards in that one game, and it's like, did we ever expect that? This like team that just runs the ball constantly, like. I think maybe it's because they lost so many running backs in the beginning of the year. They're like, I guess we gotta pass it.
And then, him and Debo. I guess Debo I thought was going to be great, but he's on the Niners, who's another team I don't always trust their receivers every week. But Debo's been very trustworthy this week.
I like Debo, and
Consistent as much as you need. So
yeah. So a couple years back, like 2-3 years back, I was in an Uber, and some dude was like me and my roommate were talking about fantasy football, and he's like, "You want to hear a name?" Sure. He's like, Debo Samuel.
that is a name.
And I was like, all right, I like the name. And it's like, okay. And then I went out and got him in like 1 or 2 leagues or
Hell yeah.
something, because he was like, I think I could have picked him up or something. But then like he didn't really do anything his rookie year. Last year I like drafted him in like every one of my leagues, and he really was inconsistent and didn't. Ayuk was getting so many looks. I was like, oh snap. So I only drafted him in 1 league this year, but I'm still happy I got him in that league. But like, man, it's so weird how you can be on. Like you were on Devontae Adams like super early.
Way earlier than this. Yeah, Debo's like right in that same area. His 3rd year is where he broke out, not quite his 2nd. So
many people were on Cordero Patterson like 6 years too.
they were just
Yeah. Goodness gracious.
It's just funny.
their kids have grown, and now he's better. That's how much time has passed between the waiting on Cordarrelle has been. So.
Maybe somebody just finally figured out how to use them.
Well, who are you looking at though, Garrison, for your receivers aside from Debo?
Well, I find it very interesting that we've got Godwin and Evans at 9 and 10. And I'm pretty sure if Antonio Brown was healthy, he'd be like
Above them?
8th or 11th, like right there. They'd all just be like the exact same position.
AB was one of the guys I was high on at the beginning of the year. Obviously,
Yeah.
the injuries have hampered him a little bit, but I think you're right. I think if he was healthy this entire year, he might be in that top 10.
Yeah, I mean, at least around there. I mean, he was.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some weeks where
looking
it's just like
throwback.
Tom Brady just wants to throw it to Antonio Brown.
And why wouldn't he?
He's probably lost to him in a poker game at their house last night. You lose, you gotta give me 5 targets at least. You know? And I think one of the things, I think you mentioned it, that Hopkins was out of the top 10. I love the talent there. I kind of was low on him this year.
You were? No, you were.
Because
and I was high on him.
Because, you know, he's kind of up and down a lot. Like, he usually has big weeks and then, like, not so good weeks. He's usually still, like, rounds it out. But I think this year he's just got so much talent around him. So many good players. And then Kyler Murray's, like, a really good professional quarterback. And those guys normally spread the ball around, especially if they have the talent, you know. They're not going to force it. He's not going to force it to DeAndre Hopkins. He's not going to make DeAndre Hopkins make an amazing catch every play. Instead, he's going to get him when he's open and get the other guys when they're open.
Yep.
You know? We're going to move on to tight ends here. As you can see, we've got them up here. Very similar, number 1 overall. Kelsey. One thing I want to know is Waller going to, like, come through for his fantasy owners? I'm not sure what happened, but those 19
Not yet.
targets in week 1, like, faded quicker than Will Smith's hair in The Fresh Prince, you know? Very quickly. Oh, he's only had 1 game with over 10 targets since then, so that's kind of weird. Hopefully they get him more involved in the
Maybe
offense.
this week.
Yeah, we'll see. Still good. Still got him ranked at, where's he at, 5th? You know? I'm sure he'll move up by the end. And I bet if the Lions had a competent offense, like, I think TJ Hawkinson might be the number 1 tight end this year, because Kelsey's kind of lagging a little bit. And then, yeah, he's just had so many receptions, man. I really like Hawkin Boss. But yeah, and then also, like, how about Uzomah sneaking up into the top 10? That's kind of cool. Although,
Will he remain?
we'll see, because I got this stat here. I looked it up. He said 60% of his points in 2 games. So, you know, he just had a couple monster games. You know, you can still play him. Maybe he has another one.
It's kind of like Tanyan last year.
Yeah. So we'll see if he can continue that. But good for him.
Definitely.
With those
Great.
games. What do you guys got for tight ends?
Nothing. I think it's just what looks like tight end musical chairs. So, a few different names. Other than that, a lot of them say the same. It's cool to see Pitts, a rookie in there. Cool to see my guy Noah Fant still in the top 10 as he finished in the top 10 last year.
Gesicki done really good both years
Yeah.
too. So he
So,
came
yeah.
along this year.
I want to give Knox another shout out
Yeah,
now that he's back
Knox.
from injury.
We'll
I
see.
think-
Yeah, maybe
Heck
he can
yeah.
finish.
And
strong.
then, hopefully Logan Thomas can work his way back into it now that he's back from an injury too. So, Kyle Pitts, love him as a rookie. I don't know if he is a tight end. He kind of almost seems like a receiver a lot of the time. So,
Well,
that's my only
Gesicki does that
reaction.
exact same thing, and he's
Yeah.
done well.
Yep.
He's done well with that.
Awesome.
Great. So those are the tight ends.
Yeah.
We're gonna move on to one of our favorite parts. We got our positional leaders and our sure thing.
It's a show thing, bud.
So yeah, it turns out I'm the only one that got anything last week. So I needed it though. That's the thing, is I needed a week to catch up a little bit. So as far as the sure things, me and Ted are now tied at 3 and 4.
Nice.
Mason's still in the lead at 4 and 3.
On a cold streak, but we're turning it around
And then me and
in
Mason.
all facets this week.
Yeah. Keep your head up.
Here we go. Here we go.
We got a 2 and 2 for positional leaders, me and Mason, and then Ted are still in the lead with 3. None of us got
Trace.
positional leaders. I was so close with Lamar Jackson, so close last week, but it is hard to do this a little bit. So let's move on. Mason, you want to start with your sure thing in positional
I will
leaders?
start off with my sure thing. It is against the Browns again because Chubb is out with COVID. He kind of killed my pick last week. But the Pats are 1.5 point favorites at home over the Browns, and I think they're going to cover that spread. For my sure thing, moving on to players, I have Justin Herbert, who was the leader last year against the Vikings, going to do it 2 weeks in a row. Darren Waller, who we just mentioned falling off, is going to come back this week
Okay.
against Kansas City, divisional matchup. Najee Harris versus Detroit. I think the Steelers might kill the Lions, so Najee's going to get plenty of work all game
The
long.
Lions didn't lose last week.
Oh, yeah, because they're on bye.
They were on bye.
And then Tyreek Hill versus the Raid. So maybe Waller and Hill can both have big games against each other. Those are my picks.
Gotcha.
What are we looking at next?
Yeah, Ted, you
Ted
want to go
or-
ahead and do yours?
Cool, yeah. My sure thing is similar to Garrison's, as I just saw. Taking the Titans to cover the spread against the old Saints. After that defensive performance, I think they're well on their way, even without Derrick Henry, so that was fun to see. Positional leaders, quarterback, I got Lamar Jackson Thursday night, so tomorrow night against the Dolphins. I think he's going to ball out and tear apart that defense. Next, similar to you, Mason, I have Najee Harris, running back position against the Lions. Similar to you as well. They're going to be beating them into the ground, so he'll get a lot of work. Next, I got, the wide receiver leader. I got Cooper Kupp against the 49ers. 49ers are just awful all over the field, so there's that. And then finally, again like you, Mason, I went Darren Waller.
Ooh.
Anytime I have a chance to pick a guy against the Chiefs, I'm going to take it. So,
You
Even
haven't
if it's
watched
a
the
Raider.
show, Tedder hates the Chiefs.
I absolutely hate the Chiefs.
More than the
So-
Raiders, it
So
turns
yeah,
out.
that's what you get whenever you're a Broncos fan who grew up in Kansas City. Grew up in Missouri. You hate the Kansas City Chiefs.
Guess I gotta change my sure thing, cause no, it's okay, cause we are tied. Maybe we'll both catch up to this guy this week.
Yeah.
But my sure thing is also Titans minus 2.5 points against the Saints. Really love that Titans team. Feel like talked about how the Colts are underrated. I also feel like the Titans are a little underrated, and obviously they lost Derrick Henry. But you're not good because of one player. You're good because you're a good team, and it's not your quarterback. That might be devastating for a team. As far as my positional leaders go, my QB is the GOAT himself, Tom Brady.
Ooh, TB.
Versus Washington.
The pale horse.
Ah, man, dude, I'm tired of hating on Tom Brady. This is me accepting that he is just amazing and he's playing a bad defense.
Tampa Tom, baby.
Wait. No.
If you can't get pressure on Tom Brady, he's gonna kill you.
Yeah.
So they're just gonna double team Chase Young, and then Tom Brady's gonna eat him up. My running back, I'm gonna go with Jonathan Taylor versus the Jags. Love me some JT. Next, I've got my wide receiver as Devontae Adams versus the Seattle Seahawks. Can't be guarded, definitely not by Seattle. And then I'm assuming Aaron Rodgers comes back to play.
Mm-hmm.
Probably won't get it if Jordan Love's the quarterback. And then my tight end is going to be Travis Kelce versus Las Vegas. I really see kind of Kelce finishing the year strong. I know he's upset about the way things have gone. And you know what? He's been open this past week or two. So, yeah, I'm liking him going into this week. So that is actually going to be the end of our show. We just want to say thanks for stopping in. Keep going, keep chugging, and we really appreciate you guys tuning in.
See you next week, fam.